Hey, what's going on, guys? So this video we're gonna have a look at some sort of a business sensitive topic that clients gonna have requests for quite pretty often, and I'm talking about the geocoding. And geocoding is some sort of a service that converts the given street address to longitude and latitude coordinates and reverse as well, and that is called the reverse geocoding, which would be the topic of the next video following after this. So there are many paid and free alternatives in this kind of field, and today I'm gonna have a look at one of them, which is called Nominatim OpenStreetMap.org, which is a free service that provides the API that actually allows us to convert the given the given street address of whatever place in the world, given in a string format, to say some sort of coordinates. So if I just quickly type here, say London, and just click search, well, it's not the API, it's their kind of normal user interface. So just have a look at here at the details. Oh my god, it's not exactly what I'm supposed to see, I'm sorry. Okay, maybe this one. So I just want to show you, yeah, so here we have the coordinates, like the latitude and the longitude. But of course we don't really want to scrape this like in a regular way when we're doing this in a web scraping, and also it has some free API to extract data from, so no need to torture this site and go in for a hacks with web scraping. But before we proceed, I would like to kind of cover a couple of sensitive points. So we will have a look at the API itself and at the usage policy. But probably the very first thing to consider is actually the usage policy, because it's really important for those of you who's going to use this in your kind of real world projects. So as far as this service is free, it has it doesn't have a big computing big computing capacity. Instead, it asks you to no heavy uses, so only one request per second, providing a valid HTTP referer or user agent. So you need to specify the headers, so you can't leave this, like if this is a request to Scrapy, just having their built-in so they say this, like stock user agents are set by HTTP libraries will not do, so they won't kind of work. Also some other sort of policies here, some notes regarding the bulk geocoding. So if in case if you have a list of addresses, say like 1,000 of addresses, you always need to limit your request to a single thread, and do this only within the one machine, so no Amazon EC2 instances running this concurrently or stuff like that. And also results must be cached on your site, so otherwise you can can get blocked. And here is some stuff regarding unacceptable usage. And you know, guys, I personally did try in my life to violate the terms of use of Nominatim, and I got banned and blocked back in those days. So I highly discourage you of trying that, because you will 100% get banned and blocked. So we don't really want to have that sort of scenario. So let's respect the Nominatim usage policies, and bearing all this stuff in mind, we'll pick up some sort of tools to use basically. And even though there are lots of Nominatim API clients, maybe I don't know how to call this. There are lots of libraries that makes use of this API already written. There are really lots of them on GitHub. You can search them yourself. There are available the Python versions, the JavaScript versions, so really lots of versions. But as far as this channel is more like dedicated to web scraping and API scraping and data extraction, I think it would be interesting to write some sort of a primitive library like that ourselves, just to make it clear how to make use of a public API which is free at the same time. So as far as we're limited to only one thread, so no heavy uses, we'll be using not Scrapy but the bare Python request library, which is kind of provides that by default basically. So it doesn't support concurrent requests like the twisted internet library for Python that is the Scrapy is built on top of. So now here we can see all the available APIs. So here is the search, which kind of allows us basically to convert the street address to the coordinates. Reverse, the same but on reverse, so you just can provide the coordinates and get the location back. The lookup allows you to see some address details by the Nominatim OpenStreetMap specific IDs and so on. And this details is still in the debugging mode, so not really a good idea to make use of that as well. So in this video we're gonna cover this kind of search, and next video we're gonna have a look at the reverse geocoding. So now let's have a look at the search API documentation. So here's kind of pretty lot of versions or variations of what you can actually do depending on what's your initial purpose. But as far as we're looking for getting the coordinates out of the street address, we need to use this one that is called geocode.json. And here we have the example URL to request, and also here is the response that would get back in return basically. So in here you see this coordinates is exactly the latitude and longitude that we need basically. So let's now just basically okay, what I have here? Okay, and here I actually already did try to make a request to this particular URL endpoint, and I got this absolutely the exact result that was mentioned over here. So let's now just try to close all this stuff, so because we don't need this anymore, and let's have a look at the headers. So as the usage policies already mentioned, we need to use a user agent in order to avoid getting blocked. So if I just go here, I'm in the network tab. So let me just show you this from the very beginning. So let's assume that I did import this kind of search query. So now I just invoke my developer tools by pressing Ctrl+Shift+I and just making this one more time. And here we see this is the API call we've just made. So the URL and response. So where is the request headers? So I can't see for some reason. Okay, request headers are over here. So here we need to specify this kind of user agent in order to not end up getting blocked. So just copy this. And also it has only two string query parameters, so the query itself, and we need to specify the format of the response object. So as far as we specify the geocode JSON, we'll get this this sort of response back. So if you're interested in writing this sort of a script, let's actually start writing some code. So I created the geocoder.py file in my current working directory, and the first thing we need to import some packages, and let's start from import requests, which is a nice, as they claim this to be request for human, the library that allows us to make outgoing HTTP requests. It's probably written like this. Also we need to import JSON to be able to print this stuff. And now okay, so probably at the very end I would wrap this to the class. Okay, let's maybe start with defining the class from the very beginning. So let's call this class geocoder, and okay, it doesn't inherit from anything. So okay, let's create three methods. So the first would be def fetch, that would be taken to self instance, and the URL, no, not the URL, so we need to specify the okay, base URL here, and make it base URL equals, and now if I just quickly go to as our base URL basically. Okay, let's try to grab this one, just copy and paste. So don't need all of this stuff, we need only until here basically. So search like this. Okay, and probably the only argument we're supposed to pass would be the address itself. So let's have an address here, and here let's try to. Okay, so we need the parameters that would be the representation of the screen query parameters that we have over in here. So it's the query itself and the format. So just copy this stuff and paste it, and so the format is fixed, so we're using this geocode JSON as the fixed parameter, but this kind of query would be always different, and we'll specify our address variable over here. So I'll say here like string query parameters. Okay, and now we need to print some debugging information. So I just simply say HTTP GET request to URL, and at the end we don't need to bring the new line, and the URL itself would be self.base URL Okay, just hold on a sec. Okay, just go a slightly bit different way. So first, let's actually try to create a response object that will be equal to requests.get, and we want to get the self.base URL and also specify the parameters. So this is the URL we're supposed to make the request to, and here we'll specify the params, which is the name of the argument to have this sort of a parameters. So I say params here as well. And now actually print some sort of a debugging information. So print I say HTTP GET request to URL, and here the URL itself, and then we want to say the status code and providing the status code as well. So we need to specify here the response.url followed by response.status code. So this is kind of it basically, and also we'll need to we can say like if response.status code is equal to 200, which means the response code is okay. In this case we want to return response, otherwise return none, basically like this. So now let's create, so before actually also we'll need the parse method that would be handling the response itself to extract the valuable data out of the API, but we'll just pass this for a while. And here let's create the run method that would only take the self instance, and that's it. And here we actually can specify all the logic we want to have here. So I can simply say like self.fetch, and here we need to specify basically the address itself. So let's have the London, and let's say Baker Street, where Sherlock Holmes lived basically. And yeah, this is probably kind of it. Now let's quickly draft a main driver here. So I say main driver, and I can simply say if name equals to main. Well, in this case, we want to create the geocoder instance. So I say geocoder equals geocoder like this, and we simply say geocoder.run. Okay, and I hold my breath and open the terminal in the current working directory and type python3 geocoder.py, and I hope to see some debugging information here. Okay, great. So we have request URL to this kind of location. So Nominatim OpenStreetMap blah 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 search London plus Baker Street and format geocode JSON. Great. So now, as far as we did get the successful response out of the API, it's time basically to parse this response. So now I can simply say response equals and what returned by this fetch function. And here, as far as the code is okay, this to hundreds, it means the response, it would just return the entire response basically. And here, what we can do here, as far as we're supposed to have that response in a JSON format, we can actually say like response equals to this response object, and we can convert this to JSON as far as this is the requests library specific response. I think this should work just fine. So let's first try to print this response to make sure it is a JSON format basically. Okay, it is great, and this means that now we can pass this this JSON response to our parse method. So we can simply say self.parse and the response itself. And now here within the parse library, within the parse method, we can simply say let's first actually try to print, and just to print the response, we can say JSON.dumps and response and specify the indentation equals to 2 spaces. Okay, so here is our response, exactly what we need here. Okay, coordinates, geocoding, place ID. So really lots of, so well, basically here we have kind of many, probably we have too many responses. I'm not sure why exactly this happens. Okay, so this is the feature collection. It's because probably the data is too, so here he has the particular some sort of a particular street addresses, so Baker Street, Melbourne Road, and this has this coordinate. So yeah, the problem is the address is too general, so I need to okay, so this is another one. Also has the nice part is it has the UK specific postcodes here. Okay, so it's slightly different coordinates per, oh no, our coordinates are all being the same. Let me just check this out. No, they're slightly the same. They're pretty similar, but still slightly the same. Okay, but probably as far as let me just basically try to grab this particular location. So if I just copy this and try to paste, I hope to have the only response basically. I'm not sure whether it works or not. Let's just try this. Okay, so still, so how many I have here? City of Westminster. I'm not sure why. Okay, just hold on a sec. Okay guys, sorry for this. I just needed to grab a list of valid UK addresses. So I've got a couple of those here. So please have a look that the formatting is really different. So I really wanted to have a different formattings for the addresses, because really often it might happen that you would encounter this non-formatted addresses when you need to convert them to coordinates. So let's try to grab the very first one and trying to paste here to our as the argument, address argument to our fetch method, and save and just run the geocoder. So Okay, so first, the first result here, it just gives the, okay, so in this case it's probably the only result. So so here's probably, okay, yeah, here is the address and the coordinates. But in some cases it might happen that there are more actually than one result of the coordinates, and in that case you really need to have a look at the response itself to make sure what exactly you need to pick up, to scrape basically out of there. So have another address, and so here again, okay, so this is what I was talking about. So here is properties like it's called a label and the geometry coordinates, so these values, and so this regards the burn road in general, I believe, and this one regards some particular building 21 probably at this road, and here the coordinates are slightly different. So also just bearing that in mind. So as far as I'm not really focused at least in this tutorial to get the exact data, because this task is not really specified that clearly. I just wanted to show you the basics of how to extract data using this API. So we'll be just simply extracting what we're supposed to extract. So we'll be basically extracting all the possible coordinates and the related, so either label, yeah, so probably it's called the label. So let's actually start parsing our response here. So the very first thing to consider is actually I just want to make sure if this is the type of, so okay, so this is a JSON, okay, it's not a list, so it's just an object basically. Yes, so we just need to have a look if the features, so the features is the list. So I just want to have a look at the keys just to understand the structure of this kind of stuff. So let's print response dot keys and try to run this one more time just to make sure. Okay, so type geocoding features, and probably it would be better, so I will just take all these addresses. Well, I could have actually read this from file. Okay, let me just probably really just better just to read this from file. So okay, so here we'll create the addresses list, and we'll say addresses. Well, first this would be the type of string, but later on we'll convert this to the list. So here we need to fetch addresses from file. So this is just an example basically. Here we say with open and addresses.json. We want to write, oh, it's not, why did I call this JSON? Let's call this basically addresses txt. It's text format, it's not JSON. Okay, so addresses.txt as file, and for line in f.read we want to populate our addresses, so plus equals line, and last thing convert addresses to list, and here we simply say addresses equals addresses dot split by the new line. I hope this should work basically, and let's print our addresses here. So just don't want to make response for a while, and just to make sure that we did extract the addresses correctly. Okay, seems like we did basically. So as far as we did this, Okay, also let's import the time module to import time to respect the Nominatim service policies to make actually hold on. So we need to respect the policies of Nominatim service, and we need to make delays between the requests. So here we would just simply loop over the addresses. So loop over addresses, and we can simply say for address in addresses, and here we can now actually do this kind of stuff. So making a response, but this time we're using the address at the source address. Okay, and we're parsing this stuff here. So okay, and now we'll see. Okay, and also we need to say time.sleep, and let's sleep actually for 2 seconds to make sure we're not getting up band, but actually 1 second is enough. So here I say just respect Nominatim crawling policies. Okay, and can we start this now? So I just want to see if the keys are all the same each time or not. So let's try to see this. Okay, so making our request. Okay. Okay, so geocoding, type geocoding features, type geocoding features, type geocoding features. Okay, great. So probably we need the features, right? I believe that we need the features there. So let's actually try to see response and features. So this would be the data. Okay, data equals. Yeah, so always remember commander data from Star Trek when writing this word. Basically, just me and my wife are watching this Star Trek: The Next Generation from season 1, starting from the last week. Well, at least assuming there is nothing to do much when the coronavirus fucks all the movies in the cinemas. Okay, so now I can simply try and run this again to see what's the features there. I can just stop enough. Okay, geometry. Okay, so type properties, geocoding. Okay, geometry. Oh, so this is the only one feature here. So features is actually the list. So I don't know, should we take the verb first? Let's probably try to take the verb first one here. So features 0, and we want within the features 0 we need geometry coordinates. Okay, features 0 geometry and coordinates. Save. Try to run this one more time. Okay, now we have our coordinates. Great. And also let's basically call this not data, let's call this coordinates, and the label as well. So we'll make okay, so try to see the label first. Save. So save. So is the label within the features? I'm just wondering. Okay, yeah, so properties, geocoding label, well in high street. Is this what I'm looking for? Well in high street, yeah. Okay, so I'm not about the accuracy here, I'm just about to show the principle of how to work with the API, with the open free API here. So okay, let me see this one more time. So properties, geocoding label. So properties and geocoding and label. Save. Okay. And one last thing, apparently, we could have make use of. We could have also specified the address that we used in here, and so fetch address. So can we? Well, we could have extracted that from. Okay, just forget that. Probably this would be just pretty enough. So now it's time to create another. Let's call this items as usual, and well, basically this is the retrieved data. Okay, and this would be, let's call this address basically, and using our label here along with the coordinates and coordinates. And also we don't need to have them, these guys as a list, so we can simply join them. Oh, Dr. Pi has written something to me again. Cool. Okay, so this currently, and let's just, for debugging purposes, I just want to print our items, and like this, JSON dumps to print the items, and the indentation equals to 2 spaces. So now we just extracted only the data we need out of oh my god, what the hell is going on here? So man, why is this so? Oh, it's probably, and also wanna replace all the new lines with nothing here. So let's check this one more time. But hold on a sec, why this kind of square brackets appear? I'm really wondering. Just hold on a sec, maybe. Hold on, guys. Okay, I just realized that this is actually the string already, so it's pretty enough to just get rid of the new lines and the square brackets and probably strip the white spaces. So let's try to do this now. So let's replace new lines with nothing, and can I make it like over here, or it gives me an indentation error? Yeah, of course. Okay, just forget that basically. So also we need to replace this guy with a nothing and replace. It's not really essential, but still might be the case. And also want to strip this. Save. Okay, now I like this much better. Okay, so now the coordinates seems to be pretty nice. Great. So list index out of range. Hey, what the hell is this? Oh, it's not always possible to have the label, and which one in particular. So, oh, there is some empty query here. I'm not sure why this happens. Maybe this is because okay, maybe just forgot to add an extra new line there. Let me just quickly have a look at that. But in the meanwhile, the very last thing left here is actually to append this data to some sort of results. So for now, I can just specify the results variable here. So results equals this. Let it be list, and here, instead of actually creating this item, we would simply be appending this data to the results list. So, okay, it's still the same. Okay, hold on a sec. Okay, so there's probably something wrong with the fetching data from the file. So what I'll use a simple fix here. So just enclose all this stuff in the try except construct here. So simply say try and accept and pass. That's it. So now we don't need to bring the items. Instead, we want self.results.append, and we're appending this extracted data. And also the very last thing left here is actually to specify def, let's call this store results, and only the self instance is an argument. That's kind of it. Store save, and here can simply say with open, and as far as the results is the type of list of dictionaries, so we can already kind of dump it using the JSON dumps to the file. So we simply say with open results dot, let's store this to the JSON file as write the file stream as file, and simply saying file dot write, and here JSON dot dumps and self dot results, and also to prettify the output we say the indentation equals to 2 spaces, and also we need to invoke the store results here after we did successfully crawl through all the addresses. So store results, and simply saying self.store results. Save, and I hold my breath and try to run this one more time, and I hope to see only the debugging information over here, right? And at the very end, I should have got an output file, results.json. Sorry guys for this cup of tea, I'm just feel a bit sick, and that's why I'm trying to heal myself all the time, trying to drink as much water as possible. Okay, so it seems like it did successfully crawl all the stuff, and the result JSON file has appeared here. Okay, so here we have our, I'm not sure why, oh, it's just probably some sort of an escape character, but it doesn't matter really that much. So at the very end we have the street that was found using our query basically, and the coordinates. So of course I don't ever claim this to be some sort of a production ready code or something, because it's really kind of lack of accuracy, and probably one need to dive into the Nominatim OpenStreetMap API a bit deeper to understand which data in particular he needs to extract out of there. Maybe the addresses themselves should be formatted somehow better. I don't know, maybe just so. In any case, I just wanted to show you the very gist, like what this sort of API can allow us doing. So we can have the address as the input and get the coordinates as the output. And like for all those clients who is really into the machine learning and data science, they really need this sort of data to perform all of their predictions and stuff like that. So it's really quite important data for them to have, basically. And that's why they are happy to pay for this sort of coding services. And especially they are happy if you can write this geocoding software using some sort of a free services like Nominative.OpenStreetMap.com. I'm not ever promoting that. I'm just fond of that sort of service. I've been using this myself back in those days. That was basically the very first project I get paid for as the software developer. Believe it or not, back in those days. Basically, the last spring. It was the last spring. Yeah. So this is kind of it, and in the next video we're going to make absolutely the opposite. So we'll have this sort of the coordinates as an input, and we'll be getting the addresses corresponding to this particular coordinates as the output. So if you're interested, just wait until the next video comes out, and we'll see how to use. Probably close that. Okay, so here we're using search, and the next video we'll be using the reverse API. So I hope you learned something interesting out of this video, guys. So until next time, and take care.